Welcome to yet another edition of the Stats and Stacks podcast. For today, we're going over UFC Vegas 94, Jandiroba versus Lemos. First things first, make sure you give this video a like, hit subscribe, give a follow over on Twitter, over on Instagram, over on TikTok, wherever there's social media. There's the Stats and Stacks podcast. Last week, got absolutely killed like everybody else. Christian Rodriguez screwed us. Joshua Van screwed us. I mean, I went kind of oddly heavy on the Rose inside the distance. Screwed us. I mean, I don't know what to do. It was just a bad week. You chalk it up to you have good weeks, you have bad weeks. I'm hoping it returns to a good week this week. But this is one hell of a card. It's terrible. It's god awful. Any card is a good card when you're making money. For the love of God, we have to make money on this card. It's going to be one of the worst cards ever. So, only 12 fights here. Starts a little earlier. Begins at 5. Don't forget that. But all in all, let's go ahead and just jump right into UFC Vegas 94. It's an Apex card, all right. Dana White Contender Series right around the corner, and you can tell. Very first fight of the night, we are looking at Muhammad Usman as a minus 135 favorite, going up against Thomas Peterson at plus 115. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 215. Under 2.5 at plus 165. Let's start with the motor, Muhammad Usman. He'll have a 5-inch reach advantage in this matchup, which I do like a lot. That's about it. I don't like anything else about Muhammad Usman, to be quite frank with you. His wrestling he utilized against Junior Tafa. That was smart. But he's not a good wrestler. His jiu-jitsu is non-existent. His cardio is not great. I've seen him gas out. I've seen him go a whole 15, so it's serviceable as cardio. But he's low-key kind of chinny. We saw him get dropped by multiple guys. We saw him get dropped by uh Dontel Mays. That's not a good look. We saw him chin checked in the Ultimate Fighter show. Like he has a little bit of a chin issue. He's very, very low volume. Part of that is because he only wants to counter. But yeah, not enough volume on the feet for someone who's predominantly a striker. And per his numbers, he's very hittable on the feet as he's sitting there waiting for you to throw so that he can counter. Jake Collier got ahead on him. Junior Toffa, he literally threw 0 strikes. Zach Puaga got up on him before he ultimately got KO'd. McParkin got up on him. Yeah, it's easy to land more strikes than Muhammad Usman because he only wants to counter. Yeah, his striking's not great. His wrestling's bad. His jiu-jitsu's bad. His cardio's not great. But he has a 5-inch reach advantage. So that's about it, honestly. On the other side, luckily Usman has had some pretty easy matchups, and it's not gonna stop here with Thomas Peterson. Thomas Peterson is not UFC level by any means. The reason Thomas Peterson is in the UFC is because he's a heavyweight who wrestles. It's an enigma. It's not normal. If you can wrestle, you will be in the UFC at this weight class. Exactly what he is. His jiu-jitsu is not good at all, but it's better than Usman's. His striking's god awful. His striking's actually worse than Usman, so that's not a good look. His cardio is not good at all. It's actually worse than Usman's. So you're looking at someone that has a good wrestling base, an okay jiu-jitsu base, and is an extremely hittable on the feet. Against someone who's the better striker with the better cardio. Which way are you leaning? I'm not entirely sure, but I will say if Thomas Peterson can get this takedown and get it early, I saw Usman tapped out by Brandon Sales in PFL, and that's just a terrible, terrible, terrible look. And he hasn't gotten much better on the ground. So at the end of the day, I will, in a matchup where I don't like either one. There is the fact that Peterson loves to march forward, although he doesn't land well and he gets hit going forward. It's good optics. So I'll take the wrestler at plus money in a fight that neither one should be in the UFC. I like wrestling the best, and I'll go ahead and I'll take the plus money. That's there. So the pick is going to be Peterson. The bet's going to be Peterson, and we're looking to make money the first fight of the night on a dog. Next fight of the night is another very, very close fight and another closely lined fight. We have Luana Carolina at minus 115 going up against Lucy Pudilova at minus 105. Over 2.5 is minus 395. Under 2.5 is plus 280. Let's start with Pudilova. Pudilova was someone who came into the UFC extremely young, got cut after losing three consecutive times, went over to the regional scene, dominated for a while, and worked her way back. She's now 30 years old in the prime of her life. She was predominantly a striker, and that's what she was her first go around. She came back to the UFC, and she is now a grappler. Her wrestling is much improved. She has a decent little double leg on her, which is good timing. Nothing extravagant. She's not powerful by any means. She just has really, really good timing. Her jujitsu's gotten much better. I've seen it. It went from being like just non-existent to actually serviceable. Not terrible on the ground. She will have a ground advantage in this matchup. Striking wise, I think she's at a disadvantage, but not by an extreme measure. Although she left the striking to now grapple, she still has it in her back pocket. She has pretty good cardio. I'll give her that as well, especially with her grapple heavy approach as of late. So, all in all, she's a generalist. She's 30 years old, directly in the middle there in her prime. So, she's an okay striker, an okay wrestler, okay jujitsu practitioner. Not bad at anything, not good at anything. On the other side, we have Carolina, who is bad at some stuff. She has a reach and a half. She has a 1.5 inch reach advantage, which is going to be nice in this matchup. She's 31 years old, so she's also in the prime of her career. She has good striking. I would say it's better than Pudilova's. We saw Luana go toe to toe with Molly Meatball McCann before getting knocked out. We saw her go toe to toe with JoJo Wood. We've seen her go against some pretty decent strikers here. She slows down in some of her fights, but just a touch. But so Pudilova will have the cardio advantage here. Her jujitsu is terrible. We saw she's been talking about getting better at jujitsu. We saw her try to use it against Ivana Petrovic, and it was god awful. Like she's not good there. She did get a crucifix on Julia Stoliarenko in her last fight, but Julia was absolutely gassed, and there was 8 seconds left in the fight. That was more you could do whatever you want to someone who's absolutely gassed. Kind of the same with the Petrovic fight as well. But we saw her get knee barred to death by Ariana Lipsky. It was just a terrible, terrible look. And again, that Petrovic fight was not long ago. It was only a year ago, and for her to go out there and talk about how much better her grappling is, uh, it did not look good. It looked terrible. 76% takedown defense. Now that number got a little skewed in the Loopy fight because Loopy Godinez took that fight on 5 days' notice, up a weight class, and continually tried to body lock someone that was double her size. It did not work. What I did notice is that although that boosted her takedown defense numbers, her doubles not good. She does not sprawl. She doesn't know what a sprawl is. Every single person that took her down, Stolyarenko took her down with a double. We had Molly, or not Molly, we had Loopy did eventually get her down to the ground. It was with a double leg. Every time she goes down to the ground, it's because she gets doubled. So I did notice that Pudilova, that is her takedown of choice. She'll go for a body lock from time to time. She will not be able to body lock Carolina down to the ground because I know that's where she wants to fight. Pudilova will definitely try to grapple here. She won't be able to body lock her, but if she can get one of those good time doubles like she has been doing, she will dominate Carolina on the ground, possibly even submit her, to be honest with you. Carolina's that bad on the ground. So on the feet, edges Carolina. On the ground, edges Pudilova. In regards to the wrestling, 76% takedown defense against someone who's not really that good of a wrestler. That's where the fight is. Cardio, they're pretty close. I think that's pretty much a wash. I'll say Pudilova has a slight edge, but Carolina doesn't gas at all, so just slow a touch to last like a minute or two. So the cardio is kind of irrelevant. It really comes down to that wrestling. Will she be able to get her down? Will Carolina be able to stay up? I don't know. I have no fucking clue. This is the closest fight on the entire card. There's no reason to go near this. I'll go ahead and I'll side with Pudilova just because she's more well-rounded. Everyone else I'm hearing is on Dread Carolina. I can't put money on Dread Carolina. I refuse. Maybe if she was the dog, she was at one point, but she's now flipped to the favorite. And if there's plus money on Pudilova, that's the only way to bet. Honestly, just bet whoever the dog is. And right now it's Pudilova. So the pick is going to be Pudilova. The bet is going to be Pudilova. next fight of the night also comes down to wrestling, man. We have Loic Razbadov at minus 115. Red Zabov at minus 115 going up against Trey Ogden at minus 105. Over 2.5, minus 240. Under 2.5 at plus 180. I don't know, man. This is another really close fight. Honestly, one you probably shouldn't bet on, but I am definitely going to. Let's start with Trey Ogden. Ogden sucks. He's 34 years old. He has a 3-inch reach advantage here, which is super nice. His striking is not good. He has a good jab. That's it. That's literally all he has on the feet. Zero power, zero knockouts on his record. All he does is throw a jab. He's predominantly a grappler. His jiu-jitsu is good. Very, very good on the ground. I know he's been subbed a few times with the guillotine. He needs to stop putting his head in there, but otherwise, very good grappler. Wrestling, getting better, man. He's good. He's good on the ground. He knows what to do. The biggest thing with him is that he's a wet blanket when he is on top. He is the definition of position over submission. He does not go for subs often because he's more concerned about holding you down because he knows he's a bad striker. He's fully aware of this. He always has very, very, very good game plans. His IQ is the best part of his game. You talk about people striking, their wrestling, their jiu-jitsu. Best part about Ogden is his IQ. He does the right thing in every fight. He knows he's not athletic. He knows he's not the most talented. He knows he can even slow down a touch, but he does everything right. He also is sporting 100% takedown defense, which is nice in this matchup. He does back up, and he does have a tendency to give really bad reactions. He's never been knocked out, but he doesn't like getting hit at all. Very, very, very bad visuals when he gets touched. But again, you have to stay on your feet to touch him, and he wants to get you down to the ground, and he's usually pretty good at it. On the other side, we have the favorite in Razaboev. He's someone that I backed in his UFC debut against Esteban Ribovic. He's someone I backed in his last fight against El Sawadi. I don't think Loic is that bad. He's fought a pretty decent level of competition over in the PFL and now in the UFC. He has good wrestling. He has okay striking. It's not good. It's not technical at all, but he just carries a ton of power and he wings these hooks at you. His volume is very low. He's very hittable. And he does have a tendency to slow down in his fights. So although Ogden does slow, Radzaboa also does. So the cardio is a wash. In regards to jiu-jitsu, it is very clearly Ogden, head and shoulders Ogden, not even close. And on the feet, this is where things get real interesting. Radzaboa is technically the better striker. He has more tools in his arsenal, and he has the power, but he loops everything. Everything is a hook, like a crazy wild punch. Ogden cannot strike, but he has a clean jab down the middle. And Ogden has a 3-inch reach advantage. As Loic is throwing all these wild hooks, he could continually potentially get jabbed and leg kicked to death. He will not get hurt. In fact, he's only been finished once, and ironically enough, it was by leg kicks against Rebecca. This guy's not going to get knocked out, and that's fine because Ogden can't knock anyone out. That's not his game. He wants to jab you to death, and he wants to take you down and wet blanket you. And here's why I think Ogden is the lock. He also Radzaboa, although he's a good offensive wrestler, is sporting a 55% takedown defense in the UFC. Every single one of his opponents have taken him down. That's not a good look because, again, Ogden, once he gets you down, you do not get up. Radzaboa is taken down half the times you try to take him down. That's the whole round, just passing away. And Ogden is going to win the most boring decision no matter what. I don't think he's going to sub him. Maybe he can, but I don't think he does. I think he will do his damnedest to keep him down. So you can have Ogden take him down and lay on top of him for 15 minutes, or you can have Ogden jab him to death for 15 minutes, or what's probably going to happen, a combination of the two. Jab for the first 2 minutes, then take him down for the last three and just stay on top and try your damnedest not to get stood up. I don't think he's in any rush to finish. And the best part about Ogden is that in his last fight, they asked him if he wanted a rank guy or if he wanted to step up in competition, and he said no. He wants to get paid. He did the same thing as what's his name, Close. God, the dude that got knocked out by Benil Dariush. Oh my God, why is his name escaping me? Not Close, Kraus. Ugh, not Kraus. I'm on Trey Ogden. That's what I'm thinking. Drakkar Close. He said, "Give me the easiest fight so I can get two paychecks." If you remember that Moda fight where there was a no contest, the first thing out of Ogden's mouth was, "Please give me both my paychecks." He wants an easy fight. He's very strategic. He picked Loic for a reason, and I think he's going to kill him. He has two routes to win. That plain and simple. So the pick is going to be Trey Ogden. The bet's going to be Trey Ogden, and right now he's the plus money side. So keep aware of that. Maybe this line gets even better for him, but he started off as a plus 150 underdog. He's now minus 105. It's probably going to close as a pick 'em. So if you're going to bet Ogden, bet him now. Next fight of the night is another one where I'm just not siding with other analysts. I'm either going to get absolutely killed again this week or I'm going to look like a genius. There's no in between. We have Miranda Maverick at minus 220 going up against Dione Barbosa at plus 180. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 345. Under 2.5 at plus 250. Let's start with Miranda Fear the Maverick. I don't really know what we're fearing. I don't think she's very good. Miranda Maverick's only 27 years old, so she did come into the UFC relatively young. She's improving. I will give her that. She has very good jujitsu. That I can't take away from her. But her striking's not good. It's gotten better. She's showing improvements, and she's 27. She's just now entering her prime. But her striking's still not up to par for me. Her wrestling is sneaky bad. People think that she's a good grappler and they think that she's a good wrestler. She took down Priscilla Cachoeira. Anyone can take down Priscilla Cachoeira. She took down Andrea Lee. Anyone can take down Andrea Lee. She took down Shayna Young. Anyone can take down Shayna Young. She took down Sabina Maza. Anyone can take down Sabina. She took down literally the division's worst wrestlers. Even the win against Jillian Robertson. Jane Robertson is a good jiu-jitsu practitioner. She's a terrible wrestler. She looks much better at 115. I'll give her that. But at 125, Jillian was a god awful wrestler. So all of her wins outside of her debut, where she had that weird doctor stoppage, they just wanted to save Jajua, was because she took them down and either submitted them or controlled them. That's how she got the wins. When she could not out wrestle her opponent, Jasmine Jasudavicius literally sprawled or hit tossed her to the side, and Miranda plays guard. I don't like that. There wasn't an urgency to get up. When she fought Aaron Blanchfield, there was a little bit of an urgency to get up, but she couldn't stuff a takedown. Miranda is rocking a 40% takedown defense. That's not good. That's a terrible, terrible, terrible number. She's not a good wrestler. She is a great jiu-jitsu practitioner, but she can't strike and she has no wrestling. Her cardio's good. I'll give her that. But even like the way she was getting thrown to the side by Jasmine, yeah, she was getting big brothered because Jasmine is just a huge 125 pounder. But Miranda has bad hips, like really, really bad hips. Like if she did like Greco-Roman wrestling, she'd be god awful. And I know because I wrestled in high school and I only shot doubles and singles. I never went upper body because I have bad hips. I hear you, Miranda. It's not an indictment on you, but in the UFC, you need to work on it a little bit. She has bad hips. She's very heavy on top. So if she does get on top, she's a motherfucker to get off of you. And that's not good going against Barbosa, because Barbosa will also play guard. Barbosa is also very good on the ground, is predominantly a grappler. She is a Brazilian Jiu Jitsu black belt, and she is also a black belt in judo. She's a pretty damn good wrestler, and the main part of judo are good hips. She also was like some sort of judo Olympian, like a junior judo Olympian at some point. So not only is she a black belt, like she is world class at judo. Her striking, unlike Miranda, is good. She's a very good striker. Most of these jujitsu girls come over and they get dominated on the feet. No, she is practiced judo her entire life, and BJJ her entire life. She might be a better striker. She's a very, very good striker, very powerful, very athletic. Problem with her is with all that athleticism comes an adrenaline dump, and her cardio's dog shit. She does not have cardio. Her volume is not there, although she hits really hard. She hits very clean. It does not come at a high number. She's fought a decent level of competition, only having one fight in the UFC. I'll give her that. But because she gasses out, she does not often win round threes. She's very hittable because of this, mainly in her low volume and her slowing down in round three. And again, she will play guard. She's very confident in her ground game. Miranda's not the one to play around with on the ground. You will dominate her on the feet. Keep it on the feet. Also, when she does go down to the ground, she is definitely submission over position. Although people like Trey Ogden that we just talked about, Miranda Maverick in this fight, they will stay on top of you, and they are doing everything they can to stay on top. They will wait going for submissions. They will possibly not even go for a submission just to remain on top. Barboza, not so much. She's going for it, and if you shuck her off of like a rear naked choke, she gets too high. She's going straight for your arm and trying to get an arm bar. She just transitions and flows on the ground, going from submission to submission. But Miranda's probably going to be able to stifle that, so she needs to chill. If she gets her on the ground, just stay on top. Don't worry about trying to sub Maverick because I don't think you're going to. Um, I don't know, man. This is a scary, scary fight. It comes down to, again, I always look at striking, jujitsu, wrestling, cardio. Those are the four that I always look at. If there's an advantage, if someone has a 4-0 or 3-1 advantage, I always bet them. When it comes to Barbosa, Barbosa is the better striker, hands down. When it comes to the wrestler, I truly believe the judo Olympian is better than Miranda Maverick at wrestling. So it is Barbosa hands down. When it comes to the cardio, it is Miranda Maverick, not even close. And when it comes to the jujitsu, although it's close, I will give the edge to Maverick. So you have jujitsu and cardio against wrestling and striking. It's close. It's 50-50. And when things are that close, I usually go with the dog. You go and you look at the number, and Barbosa is a plus 180 dog. The line makes no sense. It's way too wide. They're trying to goad me into betting Barbosa, and the motherfuckers are going to get me to do it. The pick is going to be Diana Barbosa. The pick is going to be Dione Barbosa. Or bet is going to be Diana Barbosa. Next fight of the night. We're looking at one that everyone's confident in. My stomach is telling me to be weary of it, but I understand. We have Brian Boone Kelleher at plus 170 going up against Cody Gibson at minus 205. Over 1.5 is minus 190. Under 1.5 is plus 145. Let's start with Boone Kelleher. He sucks. I don't think he's very good. He's 37 years old. He has he has okay striking. I used to think he was pretty heavy-handed. I don't know, man. I don't think he hits as hard as I once thought he did. His wrestling sneaky good. People sleep on how good this dude's wrestling is. New York stand up. Decent wrestler. Jiu-jitsu, I don't know. Uh, Submission defense, atrocious. If you get this guy's back, you're slapping on that rear naked. He has like 5 or 6 losses by rear naked choke. Like he can't stop it. He has a big deficiency in submission defense and specifically the rear naked choke. Offensively, he has one hell of a guillotine. I don't know if he's that good of a jiu-jitsu practitioner. I think he just has the one move. He's very, very good at the guillotine. He has a ton of guillotine wins. He's great at it. And if you're going to have one, that's a good one to have. But I think that's about it. So his jiu-jitsu is a little overrated. His wrestling's a little underrated. His striking is okay. I thought he sometimes hits hard, sometimes doesn't. He's a very confusing, polarizing figure to me. But where it gets less polarizing is the fact that he's 37 and that chin is starting to go. He has 60% takedown defense. That's not a great number. He's fought a great level of competition fighting Umar Nurmagomedov and Cody Garbrandt. Like he's fought really, really good fighters. But I did notice a few things. One, whenever he fights a tall, lanky fighter like he's about to in Cody Gibson, he resorts to a wrestler. He fought Kevin Kroon, who's a tall, lanky guy for the weight class, and got like 6 takedowns. He fought Domingo Pilarte, who's a very tall, lanky guy for the weight class, and he got a ton of takedowns. Like he doesn't even try to strike when he's at a significant reach advantage. He wants to wrestle, and it's always double legs. I've never seen him go for a body lock, mainly probably because he's so short. But I don't even see him run the pipe. I don't see him go for any variation of a single leg. He only shoots doubles. but he kind of spams the takedowns when you're a tall, lanky fighter. I've seen it 3 or 4 times. Like he always spams takedowns against tall guys. That's what he does. And his cardio is okay. It's not good, it's not bad, but he has the gas to do it for at least 15 minutes. On the other side, we have Cody Gibson, where I can't be an ageist in this matchup because Kelleher is 37. Gibson's 36. He is no spring chicken. But Gibson himself is also a good wrestler. He's a better striker, hands down. 7-inch reach advantage, which is going to be very nice in this matchup. The problem with Cody Gibson is his gas tank. When it comes to the jiu-jitsu, I say it's a wash. Gas tank, definitely Kelleher. Cody always starts hot. We've seen it against Ray Borg. We saw it against Brad Katona. We even saw it against Miles Johns. He always goes out and wins the first round of all of these fights. His last 3 losses, he won round 1, dominates. And then round 2 gets a little sketchy. And round 3, he's gassed. His cardio is not good at all. He's hard to finish. I'll give him that. All of these are unanimous decision losses. But yeah, dude, his cardio leaves a little to be desired. He can get out grappled at times, mainly in the third round. He usually has good takedown defense to start, but the more tired he gets, the worse it gets. And overall, he's rocking a 68% takedown defense. That's not a great number against someone that's probably going to spam takedowns. Now, again, optically, he's the better striker, and he always pressures forward. He throws very peculiar punches, and Kelleher's chin is leaving. That's good. Okay. Gibson should come out and just knock him out. If he doesn't, there's a chance Gibson can come out and just out grapple him. That all of those are possibilities. Cody Gibson's the better fighter. Cody Gibson's the bigger fighter. Cody Gibson should be the favorite and he should win the fight. But something in my gut is telling me this is closer than people think. And it was last week. Same thing. I had the same feeling with the Muslim Solikov fight. And I thought Santiago Ponzinibbio won. I truly did. But I ignored my gut. I listened to everyone else. And sure enough, Muslim Salikov won. I'm getting those vibes on this fight. I think this is a trap. I love Cody Gibson. I almost locked Cody Gibson until I did fight tape. I think Kelleher is going to bring his singlet, and I think that gets real greasy in the second and third round. Cody's going to look great round 1. The pick is going to be Cody. In regards to a bet, dude, watch Kelleher live line. If he doesn't get absolutely sparked round 1, there's a good chance he comes back and wins a real sketchy decision. So the pick is Gibson. I'll go ahead and I'll bet Gibson, I guess. But if you're giving me a good line, a good live number going into that second round, I might have to pull the trigger on Brian Kelleher. That's just the way I'm playing it. I think it's a trap, and I think Kelleher's bringing a singlet. Next fight of the night is actually one of the better fights, but to watch, not to bet. We have Hyder Emil at plus 155 going up against Jin Young Lee at minus 185. Over 2.5 is minus 125. Under 2.5 minus 105. Let's start with Hyder Emil. He's someone that I wanted to fade because I don't think he's that good. His jiu-jitsu's okay. His striking's good, and he hits decently hard, but he kind of reminds me of like he doesn't look like him at all, but he kind of fights like a off-brand Peyton Talbot. All he does is pressure forward, throw heavies, and just not stop going forward. He wants to break you. He wants to break your will with his pressure. That's how he fights. I know Marab does that through wrestling and pressure. Peyton Talbot, Hyder Emil, they do that with striking. They never take a back foot. They go constantly forward until you get tired. And then eventually, the more tired you get, they eventually they're going to catch you and they put you out or they dominate you. That's what happens. His takedown defense, it's not good. It's not bad. It's okay. He throws a ton of volume. He's undefeated. He's 9-0, but he's 34 years old. Like he's not. Peyton Talbot's like 24. Like this is not the same. This is the final version. Peyton Talbot can get better. Hyder Emil, this is it. This is all you're going to see. He is Peyton Talbot with worse cardio because he does slow down and a little less power. That's it. He does break you, man. Ton of pressure, ton of volume, and does not stop going forward. I hate how low he keeps his hands. I've seen him rocked multiple times. He's playing with fire. Eventually, someone's going to put his ass out. It's just a matter of when. He's either going to break you or you're gonna break him. He's going to go out eventually. I've seen him rock way too many times. I saw Fernie Garcia rock him on short notice up a weight class, and Fernie Garcia doesn't rock anybody. So very concerned about Hyder Emil. He's someone I do not like stepping in front of. I don't want to bet against Hyder Emil. I think he's overrated, but he scares me. Just the way he fights, it's very fan friendly, very judge friendly, and could potentially break your opponent. On the other side, we have Jung Young Lee, who is also someone I kind of wanted to fade. He's 28 years old. He'll have a 3-inch reach advantage in this matchup. He also moved over to fight ready. I love that for him. His wrestling's okay. His jiu-jitsu's decent. He's a Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt. His striking's good, but he's very low volume. He's someone that can definitely get outpointed on the UFC level. So I'm not a fan of that. And again, Hyder Emil brings nothing but pressure and volume. So having low volume against Emil is not good. But Lee's cardio is good. I don't think he's going to break him cardio wise. Lee can be backed up, which is very concerning with Hyder Emil going forward. I'm talking myself into Hyder Emil. The only thing is, Lee has a 3-inch reach advantage. He cracks decently hard. And Hyder Emil keeps his hands so low. I think it's Lee by knockout. I think Lee has to finish him, or Emil's. I don't think he's going to break him, but I think he wins a decision. Lee is the more skilled fighter. Lee's better on the ground. Lee is the better technical striker. Lee probably has the better cardio. So wrestling wise, it's probably Lee as well. So per my optics, per how I judge these, the pick is gonna be Lee. But I am scared of Emil, man. He's the more I talk about it, the more I'm talking myself back into Emil. At those lines, I mean, plus 155 is not a bad line for Emil. It's just he might get cracked. I think it's a meal by decision, or I think it's a lead by finish, and I don't know what I'm doing. I'm staying away from this. The pick is gonna be Lee. I'll go ahead and I'll bet Lee because one of the podcasts I listened to, the guy trains at Fight Ready. Shout out Brandon Olivas, and he was talking about how Lee literally didn't have a camp before, and this is the first time he had training partners. So if you're telling me Lee just trained with his brothers the whole time and actually has training partners and is actually getting help and he can improve, I think Lee should run away with it, and he probably will get the finish. So the pick is going to be Lee. The bet's going to be Lee just because of that. But God, I think you need to stay away from that. That could be a trap as well. Next fight of the night. Honestly, another good fight. This card's actually not as bad on a fan level, but this could also be a trap. We have Dohu Choi at plus 140 going up against Bill Aljao at minus 165. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 175. Under 2.5 plus 135. You can't play the over under because that's basically picking a side here. This is recency bias personified. Let's start with Bill Algeo. Bill Algeo is 35 years old. Didn't realize how old he is. I don't like that. He will have a three-inch reach advantage. I love that. He has good striking. He throws a ton of volume. Has unlimited cardio. Has really good jujitsu. Has fought a good level of competition. Like everything is good about Bill Algeo. Here's the cons, and they're pretty big cons. 56% takedown defense, not good. Always carries his hands extremely low, asking to get KO'd. And guess what? It happened for the first time in his career, his last fight. Coming off a knockout loss. Now, a lot of people are saying that was stopped early, which I agree, because he was coherent. He was there. He was blocking shots with his face, but he was actively there. His eyes were not rolled behind his head. He was standing up. It was a standing TKO. I understand the referee. I'm not mad at the referee. Could he have let it go longer? Yeah, probably could. And there were only a few seconds left in the fight. So that was a weird one. So I don't know. Does that constitute as a full knockout, like where he needs a year off? I don't know. He's 35. I don't think he can take a year off. Now, the problem is, did he get knocked out because he's 35? Is that cast iron chin deteriorating? It could be. Father Time's undefeated. So if you believe that that was an early stoppage and that it was just a random anomaly, and honestly, the knockout itself, what caused it all, he slipped as Kyle Nelson was throwing a punch. You could clearly tell it was a slip. And as he got up, he caught a clean one, like just clean. He was not getting touched like that beforehand, but he caught a clean one as he was getting back up from the slip. So it really all came from his slip. So that's interesting. I still believe in Bill Algeo, and cardio is king. The dude has unlimited cardio. On the other side, Choi does not. He doesn't have bad cardio. He can go a full 15. But here's why I think Bill Algeo is going to win. It might be one of the locks to win. Dohu Choi is Bill Algeo people are against because of recency bias. Dohu Choi had recency bias for a fight 5 years ago and is still getting credit for it. That fight against Cub Swanson, that one fight of the year, yeah, it was a great fight. Yeah, he looked good in it. But when you really go over his record, man, where's his good wins? First and foremost, he hasn't won a fight since 2016. 2016, this dude he has not won, and it was against Tiago Tavares, who was actually sneaky good, but was very old at that point. Now, to his credit, he would have won a fight against Kyle Nelson, but there was a point deduction for headbutting, and it ultimately became a draw. So on paper, he would have won the Kyle Nelson fight. And MMA math, Kyle Nelson beat Bill Algeo, and Choi was beating Kyle Nelson. MMA math, but MMA math doesn't work. Choi is a little overrated, man. He took 3 years off for a South Korean service. I understand. He's 33 years old now. He has good striking and pretty decent power. When you look at his wins in the UFC, first round knockout, first round knockout, first round knockout. Just actually his wins in general, second round knockout, first round knockout, first round knockout. That's all he has is a bunch of early finishes. He has one split here early on in his career, which is good to see. But outside of that, his cardio is not bad, but he looks much better in the first round. Outside of that, that's really all he has. His jujitsu, they say is good. He's been training with the Korean Zombie, and they say his jujitsu's gotten much better. That's nice and all, but he doesn't wrestle. So we will never see his jujitsu. And Bill Algeo is a Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt. So at best, it's a wash. Striking wise, Choi has the power, but Algeo has the volume. And that's the thing. He's going to hit him twice as much as Algeo's going to hit Choi twice as much as Choi hits Algeo. In addition, he's already hittable. He already throws a little lower volume than you would like for the way he fights. And here's the biggest thing for me: 50% takedown defense. I don't think Algeo will wrestle, but I have seen him mix in one takedown in multiple UFC fights. In close fights against like Brito and some other people, Algeo has sprinkled in that one takedown. That might be what he needs against Choi. And Choi is rocking a 50% takedown defense. And the biggest concern that everyone is overlooking, his chin. He got rocked badly multiple times against Cub Swanson. He got knocked out by Jeremy Stevens. He got knocked out by Charles Jourdain. Charles Jourdain has some of the biggest pillow fists in MMA, and he got knocked out by Charles Jourdain in his last loss. So that's not. None of those are good looks. Like they're not. He gets knocked out in all of his losses. Or even the one against Cub Swanson, he didn't get knocked out, but he was doing the chicken dance all around the octagon. So dude has 50% takedown defense, is extremely chinny, does not throw a lot of volume, is very hittable, and has no good wins. Why? He had one fight of the year against Cub Swanson. Now, again, we have not seen him since the Kyle Nelson fight. We didn't see him for 3 years. He went away. He came back. He did nothing but train. He's matured, and he is a better fighter. The version I saw against Kyle Nelson was a much better fighter of Do Hoo Choi. I've never seen that version of Do Hoo Choi. But is it enough for the volume and the pace of Bill Algeo? I don't think so. If Algeo's chin is shot, Choi is going to knock him out and have another early finish on his record. If he doesn't, it's Algeo by decision all day, every day. So I'm going to trust the talent. Again, the metrics, it's a wash on the feet. Cardio is head and shoulders Algeo. Jiu-jitsu is a wash. Wrestling somehow is Algeo. So pick is going to be Bill Algeo. The bet's going to be Bill Algeo. Next fight of the night is one where I was pretty 50-50. But I've been talked into Bruno Silva here as a dog. We have Cody Durden minus 120, Bruno Silva plus 102, over under set at 2.5, over 2.5 minus 210, under 2.5 at plus 160. Let's start with Bruno Silva. We haven't seen him in years. The last time we saw him was against Tyson Nam, where he front head kicked him. Pretty good win there. Honestly, I don't think Nam has ever been knocked out prior to that. Really good striking, jiu-jitsu black belt, very, very good on the ground, very good cardio. Rocking a 64% takedown defense, that's not good. What I do like is that he gets up. That's the thing. He can't stop you from taking him down. He trains at Fight Ready, which you think training with Henry Cejudo, his takedown defense would be much better. It's not. 64% is not a good number. Granted, he's fought a lot of good wrestlers. Tagir Ulianbekov, sounds crazy. JP Buys is a good wrestler. He fought the takedowns against David Dvorak are very concerning. Not a fan there. But yeah, he fought, and then he fought what? Did he fight Taha and who was juiced or something like that? I don't even remember. Yeah, he fought Taha, who was on the sauce. So yeah, he fought some pretty decent wrestlers. Most of the takedowns were Tagir Ulianbekov and David Dvorak, to be honest with you. 18 months off, not a fan, but he hits decently hard for a little itty bitty guy. He's a very, very small fighter. Hits very hard, very good striking, very good cardio, very good jujitsu. And again, if you take him down, he will get up. On the other side, we have Cody Durden, who is a really good wrestler. That's it. That's what we got. His jujitsu, it's okay. We've seen him subbed a ton. He's another one of these guys where offensively he has jujitsu, defensively he's a liability. We saw him get tapped out by Tagir. We saw him get tapped out by Jimmy Flick. We saw him get tapped out by Muhammad Makayev. In fact, all of his UFC losses are by submission. Like there's a little bit of a kryptonite there. In fact, not even just the UFC. 4 of his 5 career losses are by submission. Like you can submit this dude. His cardio is improving. I'll give the devil his due, but it's still not great. It's definitely not as good as Bruno Silva's. Striking bad. It's not good. It's improved, but Silva should kill him on the feet. And he pulled out of a fight recently, like 3 cards ago. He was supposed to fight Carlos Hernandez, and he pulled out, and we saw Ray Saviora or whatever that Japanese guy was that was doing all the crazy wrestling. That was supposed to be Cody Durden. That wasn't too long ago, so I don't know what he pulled out with, but is he fully recovered? I don't know. Silva hasn't fought in 18 months. I don't know. This is weird. A long layoff against a recent pullout. Not a fan there. But my biggest thing is he's a wet blanket on top. He's very, very position over submission, like some of the aforementioned fighters here. So that's where this fight lies. Cody Durden undoubtedly going to take down Bruno Silva. He will. He knows he has to. He's going to. Can Bruno Silva get up? If Bruno Silva can get up, he's going to kill Cody Durden, and he's plus money. If Cody Durden can continue to be a wet blanket, he's not going to sub him, but it's Cody Durden by decision all day. So, what do you believe? Again, we go back to the metrics. The better jiu-jitsu practitioner, honestly, probably Silva, but we'll make it a wash. Better wrestler, Durden, hands down. Better striker, Silva, hands down. Better cardio, Silva. So Silva has more things as a positive here. Silva has the plus sign next to his name. So the pick is going to be Silva. The bet is going to be Bruno Silva. Flyweight Bruno Silva, not middleweight Bruno Silva. There's 2 Bruno Silvas in the UFC. Next fight of the night, we have Kurt Holobaugh plus 110 going up against Kyan Kruszewski at minus 130. Over under set at 1.5. Over 1.5 minus 215. Under 1.5 at plus 165. Let's start with Kurt Holobaugh. I don't think he's very good, to be honest. He's not bad anywhere. He's kind of another one of these generalists. He's bad in one area, wrestling. He's 37 years old, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, and is very good on the ground. Striking, throws in combinations, has decent power, is a good little striker on him. Cardio at 37 checks out. He can go a full 15, no problem. Takedown defense. 46% takedown defense. The dude can't offensively wrestle, can definitely not defensively wrestle. Now, is part of that level of competition. Maybe he fought Trey Ogden, who's a good wrestler. He fought in the UFC. Tiago Moises is an okay wrestler. Shane Burgos, okay wrestler, should not have gotten armbarred. Ronnie Barcelos, Olympic wrestler. So yes, or national team wrestler, whatever. Very pretty good wrestler. So I understand. And Austin Thud Hubbard is an okay wrestler. So I totally understand the numbers there, but 46% such a low number. Even if you fight good wrestlers, you got to stuff some of these. So if he fights a good wrestler and who is solid on the ground, he's in trouble. That's exactly why Trey Ogden beat him in his last fight. But on the feet, he's good. Cardio, good. Like the dude's a good fighter. He's just fought a good level of competition and a lot of good wrestlers. On the other side, we have Cayenne. I don't believe in this guy at all. 15-2 record looks great. Dana White Contender Series early finish looks great, but he's a little, I don't know, man. On paper, he looks good. He has all the credentials, but something about his fight tape screams just fraud check. I mean, he is a Brazilian Jiu Jitsu black belt. He's very good on the ground. He's 33 years old, so he's not some young prospect. He has a 3-inch reach advantage, and he's a Muay Thai black belt or something like that. I didn't even know they had belts in Muay Thai. He's definitely very. He said he was a black belt in Muay Thai. Whatever. He's a good striker. You can see it on the feet. You can see it in the tape. The problem with him is that he's very stiff. He kind of reminds me of like Kevin Jousset, how like he's a good striker, but he's just very stiff. I don't know how to explain it. There's no fluidity in his strikes at all. At all. It is just straight, stiff Muay Thai. Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, very good. He's a very good Jiu Jitsu practitioner. But his wrestling's not that good. It's truly not. And my biggest problem with him is that as he has that stiff striking, he lifts his chin way up in the air. And I see this dude rocked in all of his fights. Every one of his fights, he's getting chin checked. And he is 15-2. Both of his 2 losses by KO. Dude's chinny, okay? And it's not necessarily because he's just has a bad chin. His chin is way fucking in the air. If anyone throws in a combination, they're going to put him out. And honestly, Kurt has sneaky power and only throws in combinations. But here's the thing. Kaon's a good jiu-jitsu practitioner, but Kurt's a black belt. They're both good on the ground. If you want to give that a wash, that's fine. Striking, I'm going to give the advantage to Hollabaugh. I know Cayenne has the credentials, but just with my own eyes, I think Kurt's the better striker, especially with Cayenne's chin issues. But the wrestling, he's not a great wrestler. Hollabaugh's a terrible wrestler. So if he takes him down and he's the one on top, Hollabaugh plays guard. He does not have urgency to get back off the mat, and he will continually go for subs. I don't think Hollabaugh's subbing him. I don't think he is. I think he has to knock him out. I think that's the only way he wins this fight. Kruszycki or Cayenne, I think he's going to have to wrestle to win this fight, but he's not that great of a wrestler. Is it good enough to take down 37-year-old, 46% takedown defense Kurt Hollabaugh? I don't know. Cayenne's cardio is not bad. He moves forward, so that looks good optically. A ton of pressure. I don't know. On the feet, Hollabaugh. On the ground, it's going to be Cayenne just because he's going to be the one on top. They both have good cardio. I think it's 50-50, truly. But one of them has a chin problem, and the other one has a plus sign next to his name. So the pick is going to be Kurt. The bet's going to be Kurt. I don't feel good about it, but that's why it's plus money. Let's get it. Next fight of the night is the Twitter civil war of the week. We have Steve Garcia minus 150 going up against Sung Woo Choi at plus 125. Over underlined at 1.5. Over 1.5 plus 135. Under 1.5 minus 175 and growing. I think it was minus 195 the last time I checked today. Yeah, man, violence personified on this fight. Let's start with Steve Garcia, my boy. Put some fucking respect on Steve Garcia's name. I disrespected Steve Garcia multiple times. I'm finally a believer. Steve Garcia's not good by any means, but this guy, he's not very physically imposing. He is the world's biggest ears. He has a little bit of a stomach, especially this fight at 155. He's someone that he used to fight at 135. He used to be a bantamweight. He found his footing and found his way at 145 and told us he's a 45er, but he keeps taking fucking fights at 155 because he's struggling to make weight at 145. So I don't know, man. And striking wise, all of his wins are by knockout. He's not a good striker. He's not really technical. His hands are extremely low. He's extremely chinny. But for the love of God, this is Francis Ngannou. It's Francis Ngannou at 145, 155. The dude has power. Like almost all of his wins are by knockout. His jiu-jitsu is not great. He does rock an 88% takedown defense. Part of that is who he fought. He fought Wolverine, what is that, Ulian Bekoff or whatever you call Nerdium Bekoff, whatever you call him. He was probably the best wrestler. Chase Hooper can't wrestle. Melquizar Costa can wrestle a little bit. He was able to thwart those takedowns. Chepe Mariscal can wrestle, but he knocked him out. Like this dude hits hard. The problem is he can't take a hit. We saw him rocked in all of his fights. Pena rocked him. Charlie Altaveros rocked him badly. He got knocked out by Machete. He got Chase Hooper didn't do anything to him. He didn't touch him. Sholian Mbeke, or sorry, Charlian Nerdy Mbeke, the Wolverine, rocked him. Mel Quazel dominated round one until Steve Garcia said, fuck this, marched across the octagon and just swung heavies. And as soon as one of them hit Costa, he was out. The dude, I mean, knockout, 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 knockout. Hey, whoever this Abel guy is was able to go to decision. Same with Ronnie Lawrence is good. Ronnie Lawrence, we know, is considered a ranked 135 pounder. He beat Ronnie Lawrence. Steve Garcia's good. He's just at a bad camp. He's not technical whatsoever. But the thing with him is that he hits hard and has 88% takedown defense. You can't get him down to the ground. You're forced to stand with him, and eventually he's going to clip you. Unless you take him out, a la Sung Woo Choi. Sung Woo Choi is 31 years old, has a 1.5 inch reach advantage. 1.5 inch reach advantage. He has good striking. He'll mix in a takedown from time to time. I don't think he will be able to in this matchup. His jiu-jitsu is not good, but neither is Steve Garcia's. His cardio, he slows down. So does Steve Garcia. 69% takedown defense does not matter. Steve Garcia is not wrestling anyone. Choi has a good counter. He has a good check left hook. That's his favorite punch. Steve Garcia runs face forward with his chin up. He could very well just catch Steve coming in. Here's the problem in this matchup with Choi. He's chinny. He has a ton of knockouts and zero chin. Steve Garcia has some of the biggest power in the weight class and zero chin. Both of these guys generally fight at 145, and I think this fight is at 155, if I'm not mistaken. But they're both 45 pounders, so they're going to be the same size to an extent. Choi will be a little bigger, but both of these guys just have a ton of power, really only want to strike, but can't take the punishment coming back. That's why the under is almost minus 200, and that's why picking a favorite is a pick 'em. It's just a coin toss, and everyone is just saying, fuck it, whoever lands first, I'm going to take the plus money. That's usually how I bet. But man, Steve Garcia, I've stepped in front of way too many times. He's earned my respect. For that reason, I'll pick Steve Garcia. Bet wise, only the under. Only the under. And I want to say be safe and bet the under 2.5, but this might even be a safe 1.5. Like these two don't have chins. These two both hit hard. No way these guys go the distance. So pick is going to be Steve, but the bet's just going to be violence. Give me the under. That takes us to our co-main event of the evening, one of the worst co-main events we've had in a while, so let's just brush through it. We have Brad Tavares at plus 140 going up against Jung Young Park at minus 165, over 2.5 minus 220, under 2.5 at plus 170. Let me tell you why you're going to bet the over. Brad Tavares is a good striker. He is 36 years old, so he's getting up there. He's fought the best of the best. The dude, you literally have to beat Brad Tavares to become champion. Robert Whitaker beat Brad Tavares, then became champion. Israel Adesanya beat Brad Tavares and then became champion. Dricus du Plessis beat Brad Tavares, then became champion. Like, if you beat Brad, you're going to be champ. That's how it works. He has good cardio, good striking, great level of competition, 81% takedown defense. Only does it defensively. He won't offensively wrestle. Jiu-jitsu's not great, but he's never on the ground, so it doesn't fucking matter. Problem with Brad is that he backs up, he only counters, and he has pillow fists. That's the thing with him. As someone that will only strike and will defend takedowns and keep you on the feet, he's no threat. He didn't knock out 40-year-old Chris Weidman. That's not a good look. The dude does not hit hard. He's very technical on the feet, but he doesn't throw enough. He doesn't overwhelm you like Bill Algeo. Instead, he just wants to counter. He's hard to hit. He's great at countering, but all counter strikers are lower volume. So you just have a pillow fisted counter striker on the feet. That's what you have. On the other side, we have Jung Young Park, who I don't think is that great. And I've been kind of able to read him like a book. He's a generalist, man. He's 33 years old. He has okay striking, okay wrestling, okay jujitsu. He tends to march forward, and he's pretty good fight IQ. When he fights strikers, he wrestles. When he fights wrestlers, he strikes. We saw it against Gregory Rodriguez. He knew Rodriguez had a bad chin, so he just pressured him the whole time. When he fought, when he fought when he fought Marc Andre Burrio, he knew he was a striker. He just grappled him the whole time. Joseph Holmes, he just took him down, and he took him down actually kind of like by accident round one, dominated on the ground, and then said, fuck it, throw out the game plan. He even said his game plan was to strike, but because it was so easy on the ground, round two, he came right out and wrestled. Dennis Talulian came right out and wrestled. So Albert Duraev, gas him out, then get the finish. So like he always has good game plans. Tried to strike with Andre Muniz, but his takedown defense just didn't hold up there. Not a problem with Brad Tavares. Brad Tavares ain't gonna wrestle. So it's gonna come down to a striking matchup. I don't think Park's wrestling is good enough to get Brad down. Neither one hit particularly hard. If one hits harder, I will say it's Park. But Brad, although he came off of a knockout of the DDP didn't knock him out. It was freaking Bruno Silva and his last fight against Gregory Robocop Rodriguez. He got knocked out. He's generally a durable guy. You can crack him. He's not unknockoutable. But it takes a lot. And I don't think Park has that power. So it's going to be a very technical fight. It has split decision written all over it. I don't think either one finishes the other one. So you're going to take the over. The pick is going to be Tavares. Just out of respect, because everyone knows him and he'll get the rub there. But the bet is going to be the over. I think the over is a lock. And that takes us to the main event of the evening. If you haven't already, make sure you smash that like button, hit subscribe, give a follow over on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, wherever there's social media. There's the Stats and Stacks podcast. We have Amanda Lemos at plus 115 going up against Verna Jandiroba at minus 135. Over under set at 2.5 in a 5-round fight. Over 2.5 minus 190. Under 2.5 plus 145. Let's start with Verna, my girl. I love Verna Jandiroba. Always have, always will. Here's the problem. She's 36 years old, so I won't be able to love her much longer because she's going to be retired soon. World-class jiu-jitsu. Very, very, very good on the ground. I would say a top 3 jiu-jitsu practitioner in the weight class. Wrestling, great single leg. That's it. She doesn't have a double. She has 0 body locks. She has a single leg, or she will play footsie with you until you succumb to it and just try to take your back. She's a great scrambler. She has world-class scrambling abilities. She just got to get you in that position. So if she can't get that single leg, she's just going to climb you like a tree, or she's going to slap on a leg lock, make you defend it, and then scramble until she gets on top. And when she gets on top, you guessed it, wet blanket, not going anywhere. Position over submission is not going to just go for any submission. She will hold you down as long as possible, primarily because the girl can't strike. She's gotten much better on the feet, but not good at all. Very hittable, very low volume, very kind of stiff as well. I love her to death. I think she's hilarious. I think she's good for the sport, but she can't strike. Her wrestling's okay, but her jiu-jitsu is phenomenal. That's what it comes down to. Just fought a great level of competition. Mackenzie Dern, Lupi Godinez, Marina Rodriguez, Angela Hill, or Amanda Hebos. We're talking to who's who of the weight class and is doing well against him. She lost to Mackenzie Dern in a fight I thought she won. Amanda Hebos, she chin checked round one. Very, very, very close fight. Ultimately went to Hebos. Again, the Dern one, I thought she got robbed. And those are her two losses in the or does she have one more loss in the UFC? She's 20-3. I think they're all in the UFC. She lost to Carla Esparza. And here's the thing. All three of those losses, Carla Esparza outgrappled her. Mackenzie Dern was able to go tit for tat. It was a striking fight because they were both good on the ground and they both just struck. And then Amanda Hebos is also good on the ground and was able to outgrapple her. So if you're going to beat her, you have to match her on the ground and you have to be able to outgrapple her. That's the only way she has lost in her career. Verna's a good fighter. She's not exciting. She's not very skilled. She's kind of or I should say, she's not very versatile. She's pretty one dimensional. Take you down, grapple you. That's what she can do. On the other side, we have Amanda Lemos. Amanda Lemos is 37 years old. She doesn't look it. She seems pretty spry in all of her fights and everything. Like she just doesn't seem like she's 37 years old. But she is, man. She's old. Father time, undefeated. Ton of power. Probably the most power in the weight class. Verna's never been knocked out, but she's also never fought Amanda Lemos. Lemos is also a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, has a good little Darce choke and guillotine on her. Kind of like Kelleher. That's pretty much all she has. Front chokes, that's literally all she has. But if she snaps your neck, you're in trouble. We saw her guillotine Michelle Waterson. We saw her almost win a world championship with the Darce choke from bottom. Yes, good, very good. Striking, great. She's a very, very good striker. Ton of power, good jujitsu. You know, pick your poison. Do you want to mess with her on the ground? Do you want to mess with her on the feet? Wrestling, not good. 57% takedown defense. Cardio, not good. But here's the thing, it might be better than Verna's because Lemos can fight while tired. Verna looks terrible when tired. Lemos also only has a few losses, all in the UFC and all good. She lost up at 135. Again, she's a 115-pound fighter. She lost to Leslie Smith at 135, up 2 weight classes. So no shame there, just trying to get into the UFC. Outside of that, she lost to Jessica Andrade, who's very good, former world champion, Wei Li Zhang in a title fight. So she lost 2 weight classes up and against two champs. Not bad level of competition. Now, are her wins aren't as impressive as Verna? Actually, no. Michelle Waterson, I mean, she fought soon to be retired Michelle Waterson a year and a half ago. Marina Rodriguez, they both beat Marina Rodriguez, and the fight was very close with Lemos. The fight was not with Verna. Mackenzie Dern, now Mackenzie Dern, that fight was close. I thought Mackenzie Dern won that fight. And it's the complete opposite because Verna lost to Dern in a fight where I thought Verna won. Lemos beat Dern in a fight where I thought Dern won. So it's very close. That was the only common opponent, and they both fought her very, very close. But outside of Mackenzie Dern on short notice, no good wins. Michelle Waterson, Marina Rodriguez. Marina's probably the best one. Angela Hill's okay. And I thought Angela Hill won that fight. Montserrat Ruiz, Liviana Souza, Mizuki Inoue, Miranda Granger, like she's not beating good level of competition. Now, don't get me wrong, she looked great in the title fight against Zhang for not quitting. But at the end of the day, I think Verna's the better fighter. And the scary, scary, scary part is Jessica Andrade standing arm triangle choke. She plays guard. She does not have urgency to get up. So I think Lemos is the better striker. It's not even close. Jiu-jitsu, it's gonna go Verna, not even close. Cardio, wash, and then you have wrestling. Verna's only has one wrestling move, but Lemos has 57% takedown defense. So I'm gonna have to give the advantage to Verna. So I'm gonna have to pick Verna. I would like to bet Verna, but not as a favorite. I mean, if you're playing the odds game, you gotta go Lemos. I don't know, man. I think what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna pick Verna. I'm gonna put Verna in a bunch of parlays, and I'm gonna hedge with Lemos. That's the only way to play this because I think it's a 50-50 fight. Give me Verna as a good line to juice up all my parlays, and at the end, I am 110% hedging with Amanda Lemos. And that's UFC Vegas 94. Again, it's not a great card on paper as you talk through it. It has a few fun fights. That's 4 or 5 ones that are actually interesting. God bless betting them. But we're gonna try our best. We did the MMA math to an extent, different type of MMA math. We used our metrics. Let's see how it works out for us. Let's get it.